Welcome to the Standard Podcast, where we raise the bar, rebuild the culture, and call out the lies or misconceptions that nobody else will. This isn't motivation. This is a movement. I'm Thomas Rowe, joined by Aaron Charles, and today we're sitting down with Brad Mayer, CFP, Executive Director, and Senior Private Client Advisor at Texas Capital Private Bank, who has dedicated over 20 years to advising high-level net worth individuals, families, and business owners on the path to achieving their legacy. Brad's journey is one of education, professional excellence, and service to others building meaningful wealth. A Texas native and Baylor graduate, Brad earned his BBA from the Hankamer School of Business at Baylor and his MBA from the prestigious Kelley School of Business at Indiana University. His career path took him from Baylor University to Intel Corporation to becoming a leader in wealth management. What makes Brad's approach so valuable is his deep understanding of investments, insurance, and planning, combined with his responsibility for delivering comprehensive wealth management solutions that coordinate with his client's entire team of advisors, including their CPA, estate planning attorney, and other professionals. Prior to joining Texas Capital, Brad served as private wealth advisor for Comerica Bank in Austin and BMO Harris Bank in Scottsdale, building expertise across different markets and client needs. He's also a certified financial planner and professional and certified exit planning advisor, playing both breadth and is specializing in its practice. Beyond his professional experience, Brad serves as Texas Capital's Austin market leadership team and is an active volunteer in Austin community, including memberships in the Baylor Angel Network. As a husband to Shelley and father of 4 children, Connor, Cameron, Jared, and Jace, Brad understands personally what it means to build and protect family legacy. His mission is helping clients understand that true wealth management goes beyond managing money. It's about coordinating comprehensive strategies that serve both current needs and long-term legacy goals. We're diving into the truth behind what it really takes to build identity, discipline, and legacy in sports and in life after sports. Let's get into it. Brad, thanks so much for joining us. Aaron and I are super excited you're here.
Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate the opportunity to join you all today.
Awesome. So, Brad, you're an executive director, senior private client advisor at Texas Capital Private Bank with over 20 years of helping high net worth individuals, families, and business owners achieve their legacy. What does raising the standard mean to you in the wealth management and legacy building?
Yeah, in the business that I'm in, it's about elevating expectations for our clients. You know, they're going to come in expecting one thing, and I want to elevate that for them and give them an experience that not only will they remember, but hopefully they're going to tell family and friends about. But that's really it, is having them come in. Every client comes in with one level of expectations, and I want to elevate that and be able to exceed what their expectations are when they walk in the door.
Awesome. And what do you think is the biggest lie that you feel the culture of the financial industry has sold people about wealth building, financial planning, and what it really takes to create lasting legacy?
I think the biggest thing is you need to plan, and you need to put a plan in place, and you need to plan for the future. And so much of society today is, I want it now. Give it to me now. I make $1, I'm going to spend $1. And that's not what's going to let you be successful long term. It may, you may feel good in the moment, but long term, that's not how you're going to achieve financial success and financial freedom. You need to have a long-term plan in place to help you do that.
And understand delayed gratification, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, that's something that is not only common just in this industry, but I think it's common in society today is everybody wants it now.
Correct.
And that, like I said, feels good in the moment, but over time, you're going to be disappointed.
Sure. You coordinate comprehensive wealth management solutions with clients, entire teams, CPAs, estate planning attorneys, and other professionals. How did your journey from Baylor University and Intel to wealth management shape your understanding of what people really need for long-term success?
I mean, I've got an interesting career path where I started off in corporate finance at Intel out of graduate school. Then I moved into college athletics at Baylor, and then I moved into this role. And I think the one thing that really I feel like has been common denominator throughout a number of those careers is it's the relationships that you build with people. In the corporate finance world, I was building relationships with colleagues, to help them and help grow that business at Intel and the groups that I was a part of. And then when I moved to Baylor, selling advertising at Baylor was about the relationships that we were able to build with both our national advertisers and the local individuals who advertised at Baylor. And that has extended now into my 20 plus year career in wealth management. It is all about the relationships that you're able to build with people. And the more that you get to know them, the more you get to learn their story, their individual story, their business story, their family story. And by doing that over time, it just enables me to become much better at my job, to help them plan for the future, because I get to learn what is important to them, right, and what is important to their family. And, that's it. It's about developing those long-term relationships. I hate to say this, but a lot of, in certain ways, money management has become more and more commoditized when you've got, just immediate access to information, and you have, things that investment vehicles that are available to people that are really, it's hard to sometimes beat the indexes, so to speak. But what's going to differentiate me from others out there and others in this business is those relationships that you can build with your clients over time.
No doubt. No doubt. Well said. On that one, I'm going to turn it over to Aaron with segment 2, identity and legacy. Aaron, take it away.
Okay. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Thomas. So, Brad, for our audience, I know Thomas has done a beautiful job of telling us who you are and all your accolades, but I want our audience to get to know you on a more personal level. So who is Brad? If they were just going to come up and meet you, who is Brad?
I think, there's three words that I hope define me. One is a Christian, secondly is a husband, and third is a father. And to me, those are the most important characteristics that I have. And I think that defines who I am. I am looking out for my clients, looking out for my family, trying to put them first in everything that I do. And so hopefully when somebody meets me, gets a chance to know me over time, those are the attributes that come through to them.
I love that. I think that's so important. So with that, one of your, I think, number one jobs probably in this sector of wealth management is helping your clients achieve their legacy. So what does legacy beyond just the financial wealth management mean to you, both personally and with the work that you do with your clients? Yeah,
for me personally, it is truly about my family. There's a saying out there that you're 3 generations removed from being forgotten. And if you think about that, we've got, I look at myself, my parents are still around. I'm lucky that they're still around. And so I have a relationship with them. My grandparents, I have memories of them and doing things with them, holidays with them, trips with them. My great-grandparents, which is that 3rd generation removed, I never met them. They had passed away before I was born. So to think about that and think, who knows you? You look 3 generations from today, and that generation is probably going to have very little to no knowledge of you. So, that is important to me. When I look at my clients, it's different for everybody. For some people, for a business owner, it's they want to build a business that is going to last multiple generations. They want that to be their legacy. And I have clients who it's the fourth generation is now involved with the business. And that's a great legacy that initial generation left for them. For other clients, it is their family. It's knowing that they've left something behind, whether it be, and it's not, I think, people will say, oh, well, it's a financial legacy. I don't believe that's the case. It's so much more than just a financial legacy that they're leaving behind. And other clients, it may be a charitable organization that they grow attached to, and they want to create a mechanism that is going to fund that charitable endeavor for years to come after they're deceased. So I think those are probably the three biggest things that I see with my clients that are the legacies that they want to leave behind.
Wow, I love that. That really made me start thinking as you were talking, not to not be present, but I was like, yeah, like you're kind of that 3 generations removed. And, I think of like my grandparents, like my kids wouldn't know my grandparents the way that I know my grandparents, and how do you tell those stories and keep their legacy alive? Because that's so important. And I think a lost art that we have. So I love that so much. So what separates clients? This is kind of where you're giving us our secret sauce. What separates clients that you work with who successfully build and transfer lasting wealth to those that struggle with that? And is there a missing piece or something that's kind of the common thread that you see throughout?
I think the common thread is one, those that are successful have put a plan in place. And so that plan could be a financial plan for them about how they want to manage their assets going forward. In the business, they've been successful in the business because they put a plan in place for their business, and they have been able to execute that plan. And that has created opportunities going forward for them and for their families. So I really feel like, that is the most important thing. When I get a chance to meet a new client, one of the first conversations I want to have with them is, do they have a plan in place? Have they thought through all of these different aspects of life that are come at them? And it, in different stages of life, you have different needs that you need to address. And so the plan is going to change and it's going to adjust over time. But to help them create that, help them, grow, make the adjustments when they need to make the adjustments. But then at the end when it's time to sell a business, when it's time to, enjoy the earnings that they've had, the investments that they've had, and the plan that's put in place, that's when you're able to sit back and say, yes, we achieved as a client, and as me as their advisor, we achieved what they wanted to achieve. And hopefully then there's an opportunity to do even more than they thought they were going to do. And that can be, traveling, that can be supporting a charity, that can be supporting family, supporting their community, all of those different aspects. But I think, what's fun for me about this is that every client is different and every client has a different story. And so when I get a chance to learn their story and have an opportunity to help them achieve the long-term goals that they have, that they want to achieve, that's the joy that I get out of this role that I have.
I love that. I think in the other word is they probably stay disciplined to their plan. So
yes, that's it. Yeah. Have a plan and then execute the plan. Yes, because you're right. Just because you have a plan doesn't mean you're going to be successful with the plan. So it's having that discipline to follow that plan. And I think, whatever area it's in, it's having somebody who can kind of help you, guide you through that too. I think for, you look at a business, and as a business, most businesses, they either have a formal or an informal board of directors, board of advisors, but people they can lean on to help kind of help keep keep them between the guardrails. And for us, that's our role as their advisor to help, provide that discipline. And when things start moving, one way or the other, to be able to come in and review and say, okay, let's get back in line here, because we have this ultimate goal that we have created, and that's what you need to help you achieve that. Is you need put the plan in place, have the discipline, and then have somebody there who's going to support you through the process to stay on track.
I love that. Yeah, sometimes we need our coach, like somebody that's kind of a coach, a guide to make us accountable and kind of GPS us. Like we got to do a little recalculating here to get back on the road. So we're not like off doing our own thing. So with that, and I know we've had you on other shows with us, what is one truth you wish, I think especially this younger generation with athletes, NIL, that you wish they understood that maybe they're not getting about wealth management, legacy building, that most people aren't telling them?
I think, the first thing we kind of talked about it is you can't spend every dollar that you make. And I feel like with these, kids who are getting this NIL money, I look back when I was 18 years old, if at 18 years old, I got even, let's say $100,000, which today is not that big of an NIL deal. But if I had that money, what would I have done with that? And would I have had somebody around me who could help guide me? And just education, I think, is such a key component of this, is to be properly educated and have somebody who's going to help walk you through. And then, another thing that I feel like is that, you can't take it with you. I feel like so much of this is, hey, I want to get the biggest this and the biggest that, the best car, all of these different items. And while, yes, that's nice to be able to do, but, at the end of the day, you still, you still, need to have that plan. You need to be prepared for what's going to come next, and not, not just waste it all at one point.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's so important. And I think about the end goal in mind. Like what's the big picture plan you want for your life, and how does this fit into your versus, okay, I got this money now, to your point, let me spend it, or just think about short-term things versus like much bigger picture.
Yeah. And I think, and it's not just money either. I feel like when we, going back to the NIL discussion, I think we've got a lot of these athletes that we're seeing more and more of it, who are 4 schools in 4 years, or if they allow, 5 years, 5 schools in 5 years. And to me, that's something that they're focusing on the short term, instead of looking at the long term and maybe, what are the benefits that could come if I, even stayed somewhere for 2 years or 3 years, and then, only went to 2 different schools, something like that. It's just that I feel like so many people have that short-term mindset, and to not have that short-term mindset, but to have somebody around you, once again, who can be there and help you look more than just, what's directly in front of you.
I think that's so important. So with that, Thomas, I'm going to kick it back over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Brad, we're going to get into wealth management. And you've worked at Wells Fargo, at BMO Harris Bank, Comerica Bank, and now Texas Capital Private Bank. How has the wealth management industry evolved, and what do you see as the biggest challenge and opportunities for families building wealth today?
Yeah, I think that the biggest change that I've seen from when I started over 20 years ago to today is just the amount of information that is available to everyone.
Sure.
I look back to, when I started, and then even, prior to that information was available to certain people. And there were there was information that was not as publicly available information. And so you could see, people who had access to that information could potentially, make some investments and have an opportunity to do better because of the information that they had. Today, so much information is available in real time. Markets adjust immediately to information. There is not that much of a lag time whatsoever. And so, what we're seeing with a lot of clients is some of that from an investment standpoint, that foundation that you're putting down in place, you're looking for solutions that are lower cost solutions and tax advantage solutions that, maybe you may be doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, but that's a great base for you to have. And so, you're just not seeing as much in our industry of what I would call kind of the stock pickers that you would have had 20, 30, 40 years ago, because certain individuals had access to information that other people didn't. And that's just not here in this industry nearly as much as it used to be. The other thing is from a technology standpoint, the tools that we have available to help clients plan, help clients put together investment portfolios, help clients manage their portfolios in a tax efficient manner are growing on a daily basis. And so those give us ways to help clients. At the end of the day, what I tell clients is we want to help you. It's yes, you want to earn as much as you can, but at the end of the day, you really want to keep as much as you can, because there are some strategies that can help you earn, but then there's other costs, whether it be taxes or transaction costs, other things that at the end of the day, you're going to end up lower than maybe some other solutions that don't have those costs in it. So it's really, what you get to keep at the end of the day. And I think technology is really providing us more and more ways to help our clients do that.
Awesome. And if you could sit down with a younger version of yourself, this is kind of if you knew then what you know now.
Yep.
If you could sit down with a younger version of yourself, just starting in the wealth management, what advice would you give about building a practice that truly serves clients' long-term legacy goals?
I think you've got to take the time to educate yourself. You've got to take the time to learn. It's not, yes, there's the business piece of it, but the people who are successful have the ability to develop relationships on a personal level. And I think, that's one thing that, you get into this business, and especially, when you're in college and you're getting trained into different ways to manage clients' assets and different ways to invest. And, a lot of the colleges now have the investment club, which is hey, let's analyze a stock and figure out, which stock is the best stock and which one's going to provide the best return. Those things are important, but in the type of role that I have, which is, now having clients, building up a client base, it's about managing those relationships and being able to, learn about your clients and sit back and listen to them. Because if you take the time to listen, ask them, the right questions, they're going to tell you everything that you need to know. To help them achieve their goals. And it's just being able to be quiet in the conversation, be quiet in the moment, and let them talk. And I feel like, early on in my career, you want your clients to know how smart you are. And so I talked more and listened less. And the further I get in my career, that's now reversed, where I'm going to listen more and talk less, because they will tell me everything I need to know. And it makes my part of the conversation much easier because I've had that chance to understand where they are today, where they want to go. So that's probably the biggest thing, is just talking less and listening more would be the recommendation I would give to a younger me.
No doubt. No, I mean, across all fields, right? What about young professionals and business owners who are starting to build wealth but may not understand the importance of comprehensive planning? What do they need to know about setting the foundation for lasting success?
I think a lot of business owners, when they're getting started, and even, as they're building the business, 10 years in, 20 years in, their focus is fully on the business.
Sure.
And they want to grow as fast as they can. And a lot of that growth is going to be investing back in the business, And I've seen so many business owners who've been successful doing that. The business grows, and at some point in time, there is a liquidity event. But I believe that there are other ways to provide for, to help yourself out over time. A lot of times we'll see clients who have an opportunity to make an investment in something outside of their company, but they don't have the liquidity because they have taken all of their liquidity and invested it back in the business. And they don't have a way to get that liquidity back out of the business to take advantage of some outside opportunity. So by helping them understand the benefits that come from taking some of that money out and setting it aside in an investment account, in a bank account, even some external real estate, some other things that you can do. And then you're able to utilize that for liquidity when these great opportunities come up that you do have to move very quickly on.
Sure.
And so that's a lot of those conversations, is just helping them see that, there is a benefit, because once again, they're looking at, I want to grow my business, and that's great. But if we can help them see the benefit of setting something aside so that you do have something there when another opportunity presents itself and you've got to act quickly.
Right. Just being liquid and have a balance.
Yeah.
We're going to turn it over to Aaron, which is the next segment 5, which is the rapid fire round. Aaron, it's all yours.
Okay, get ready, Brad. This is the fun part, not the rest.
Yes.
No. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start a sentence and you're just going to finish it for me, okay?
Okay.
Discipline equals.
Daily, to me.
I love it. Leadership equals.
Servant.
Legacy equals.
Family.
Faith equals.
Wow. Just, putting God first in everything that I do.
I love it. What is one thing that you would never compromise on?
My relationship with my family.
I love it. And if you could put a billboard up for the next generation of athletes, young entrepreneurs, business owners, what would that message be?
I would say that from my experience, what I would want them to know is that God is in control.
Right.
And as much as we think we know what's best, and it's not that everything is going to be perfect. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be struggles. But, I struggle with this many times, sometimes multiple times in the day, but just stepping back to say, God is in control. There's a plan. And if you have that faith and that belief, it makes the days much better.
That was so good. I love that. Amen to that one. And I hear you. Sometimes I struggle with saying, let go.
Yes. I'm not saying that I'm clearly not perfect in that myself, but when I do struggle, it's like deep breath. Okay. Right. And I think that just that message, I am so happy to see more and more of these, universities and these coaches that are embracing that part of their life. I feel like so many of them, it has been there and they were afraid to express it. And so
Correct.
just to see them comfortable, see the athletes and specifically, the athletes, it's so easy for an athlete to get up there and after they won the game, all glory to God. And yes, that's important. But to see more and more of them who have stepped up and in a loss and said, look, you've heard me in a win. I'm going to say the exact same thing in a loss. And I think that message is so important to get through to the next generation that's coming up, is that it's okay to express that. And is just, I think it's something that is important, and I'm glad that there are role models out there in every walk of life who are being open to express that now.
I love that. That is so great. Okay, Thomas, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Thank you. Yeah, you're so right on that one, Brad. And before we wrap up, we'd like to turn over the floor to our guests. And just, is there something that we didn't touch on today that you feel that business owners, families, or anyone building wealth needs to hear about legacy planning and comprehensive wealth management?
I just think it's important to put a team around you who is going to be there to support you. And it's important in the business side, and it's important on the personal side. And if you can do that and have people that you truly trust and have your best interests at heart, then you are going to succeed more than you're going to fail, because you're not relying on yourself. So many of us think we've got to do it all on our own. And that's not accurate. If we can put a team around us, a support group around us to help us navigate the daily challenges of life, we're going to be more successful.
No doubt. So you were in the rapid fire and now you're in the hot seat. Art imitating life. Brad, what are your top 3 sports movies of all time?
Let's see. So number 1 for me is Hoosiers. And I say that because, my parents grew up in Indiana. I got my MBA from Indiana. So, there's a little bit of Bobby Knight and Gene Hackman. So that would be number 1. Gosh, number 2, the next 2 sports movies, I'd say Rocky. I love watching all of the Rockies. The underdog story is always fun to watch. And then, for kind of just a fun movie and something that, hey, when it flips on, am I going to sit there and watch it? And it was just on last week. And I think, it's probably because it's early in the baseball season, but Major League, kind of Major League and Bull Durham, they kind of, it depends on what kind of mood you're in, but, they both are great. Just, Bull Durham tells some great stories, but they're both just, baseball's a kind of a child, my first love childhood from a sports standpoint. And so those movies also really appeal to me.
Love it. That's so similar. My number 2 is Rocky. My number 3 is Hoosiers. So you and I are very much aligned. And everything else is pretty much an honorable mention. But my number 1 is Miracle. And I never played.
Oh, yeah.
I just love about bringing a bunch of misfits together to understand, kind of like finance, kind of like what Aaron and I are preaching, is you need a team. You're not going to win on your own. You need a team. You really do.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you look at coaches, and I feel like, leaders in business, so many times you want to put together the team of all stars.
Right.
And most of the time that doesn't succeed because different people have different strengths and you need all of those different roles to be successful. So yes, I think you're right on that, Miracle, that team had all stars, and then it had people who had defined roles, and they were successful because people played their role and played it to perfection.
That's true. I lived in Los Angeles for 25 years, so I was a Lakers fan, and they got swept. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't gel together, coaching staff as well as players, you get swept, right? And
Yep.
there's a lesson right there. Brad, where can people connect with you and learn more about Texas Capital, whether that's a website, your email, or your social media handles?
Absolutely. So our website is texascapital.com, and they can learn everything about Texas Capital there. My email is brad.mayer@texascapital.com. So that's how, if they want to get in touch with me. And then I'm also on LinkedIn, Brad Mayer there. So, they can connect with me in any of those different ways.
Awesome. Brad, thank you so much for showing us what comprehensive wealth management and legacy building really looks like. And if this conversation hits you, team, do two things for us. One, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. At Business Owner Planning Exit Strategies, a family thinking about multi-generational wealth, anyone who wants to understand the difference between financial planning and comprehensive legacy building. And two, if you're in the Austin area and building significant wealth that requires comprehensive planning, connect with Brad at Texas Capital Private Bank. His 20 plus years of experience in coordinating approach with your entire advisory team could be exactly what you need for long-term success. And if you're an athlete, parent, or coach ready to raise the standard, reach out to Aaron and myself at blueprintbluechip.com. We help athletes build identity, discipline, and legacy that goes far beyond the game. This is a standard podcast. And if this movement only grows when we raise the standard together. Talent fades, but truth endures. Let's raise the bar, rebuild the culture, and become the standard. Brad, Aaron, thank you so much. Team, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, guys. Enjoyed it.